It's usually called universal basic income. And the idea is, instead of having 50 different welfare programs to help people who are poor or have some other kind of interference with earning a decent life, instead of having many different programs, you basically say everybody in the community, in a city or a state or a country or the world is given a basic income. If you work at a job and you make more than that, fine. But if for any reason your income falls below a basic minimum, you are given by the community as a whole, by the state, enough money to get you to that basic minimum. And the basic idea behind this is the same idea behind all of these programs, which is you have a better community, you have better relationships among people, you have less social problems if you do not allow extremes of wealth and poverty. That the more extreme the difference, and it doesn't really matter how high the high is or how low the low is. If there's a big difference, people become unfriendly to one another, skeptical about one another, afraid of one another, envious of one another. There's a whole set of emotional reactions people have to inequality that makes life unpleasant, unproductive, dangerous, etc. So that to avoid all of that, you have a minimum basic income, so there's nobody in such an extreme situation, at least, as you would normally have in modern capitalist societies. Are there dangers? Of course there are dangers. The biggest one in my mind is you create a new difference. The new difference is those people who work and earn a living, and those people who, for whatever reason, don't work but still earn a living. This is going to create two classes of people, and they're going to have troubles between them. So for me, the big issue is, why do that? I like the idea of community building by not having people that are extremely wealthy or extremely poor. But I don't like this way of doing it because it creates the worker, the non-worker, yet both earn incomes. So for me, the solution is simple, and the one that we should have adopted, 200 years ago, but is blocked by capitalism. And it goes like this. If we have more people than there are jobs, and therefore we have unemployed people who are poor, etc., then the job has to be redefined. For example, why do we have a 40-hour week? If we have a 20-hour week, we got twice as many jobs. And then everybody is a job holder. Everybody has a function to perform. Everybody is contributing to society as well as getting from the society an income. So for me, it's always been a mystery why you don't do it. But then the mystery is immediately cleared up because capitalists don't want that. They want to they don't want to pay a worker for 20 hours the same that they pay him for 40, which is of course my idea. I'm happy with that because for me, this solves the problem of having everybody be equal as a worker, as a contributor. You may do different work, but that's for me a value. If that costs the capitalist profits, it's not my problem. I don't care. So for me, that's the answer. We should go in the direction of doing that. And with modern technology, it's very clear that we have enough capacity to produce to handle all of this problem. The only reason we don't have it already is because capitalists want to have the bulk for themselves. I can actually explain this in a way you can edit out later if you want. Think of workers in a factory. They're working 40 hours a week, the way workers normally do. Now there's a new invention, the kind of thing that happens all the time. The new invention allows workers to be twice as productive as before. So in other words, in half the time, you can produce the same output that before took you twice the time. That's all it means. It's what we call in economics an increase in productivity. Now follow the logic, it's really very simple. If you are a capitalist, you fire half the workers. You don't need them. With half the workers and this new machine, you get the same output for which you can charge the same price, which will be purchased by people at the same price the way they did before. Meanwhile, as capitalists, you have one half of your workers to whom you don't have to pay wages anymore because you fired them. That's money that you get from selling the goods. You don't have to give to workers, you keep for yourself. Profits. Wonderful. That's why capitalists like automation. They like to replace workers with machines. Now the second option. In the second option, everybody who works, the people who work 40 hours, are immediately told with a new machine, you work 20 hours. Okay, you have workers working 20 hours with a new machine, they produce exactly as much as before it took 40 hours. That's what the machine does. So now the workers work only 20 hours. They produce the same goods, which the capitalist can sell at the same price, no problem. Same wages he pays to workers for 20 hours that he paid before. He makes the same profits before because he has the same wages to pay, he produces the same number, and he sells them at the same price. The automation hasn't improved his profits, but it hasn't hurt them. But what the automation has done is given all the workers, who are the majority, half the time to work, giving them a gift of leisure that is beyond their wildest dreams. The truth is, in the history of capitalism, every technological advantage permitted this choice. But we never had the choice. We were never given the choice, because capitalists don't want the people to have such a choice. They want to use the technology to maximize their profits, so they fire half the people. That's good for them. They're the minority. It's bad for the workers. They're the majority. Capitalism is a deeply undemocratic system. Of course, we should welcome technological change because it does have the capacity to free people from work, which would allow them to spend time developing their artistic interests. It would allow them to spend time building the relationships that are important in their lives with their men friends, their women friends, their children, and so forth. All the things people yearn to have more time for, technology could enable them to have. But the problem is capitalism, and as long as you have a capitalist system, it will use technology to make the money for the people who run the system. That's what the critique of capitalism has always meant. You change the economic system so that you get more benefits, or to say the same thing in the simplest English I know, we can do better than capitalism, and it is shame on us that we don't already do it. And one example is technology. We can use technology to free human beings from labor so they can do other more wonderful things to develop themselves and their relationships, or we can use technology to make rich people even richer. Capitalism does the latter, and that's why I'm a critic of it.